Hey nerds! It's Geeks of Cascadia. Geeks of Cascadia. Geeks of Cascadia. Exclusive tabletop game podcast for the Pacific Northwest. All levels of gamers. Analog gaming. Tabletop news. Dungeons and Dragons and magic. Stupid, mindless banter.
There will definitely be.
Hey geeks, Blue Samurai here, and I am with...
Still Paul.
And of course, we're your co-hosts of Geeks of Cascadia, episode...
41 maybe?
41! But there you go, 41. And I'm going to admit to the entire world that I'm a bad friend. I'm sorry, Paul, I should have been here 30 minutes ago.
This is going to be short.
It's going to be short, because we've got a great interview today. We got someone that has actually put stuff in the DM's Guild, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And yeah, something that we talk about, but we never do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a thing.
That's
Wait,
right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be exciting to talk to him, and of course we got some con news coming up. And big shout out to our good friend, Joe Costasaurus. He will not be part of our podcast, except we're going to try to lure him back on during Orcacon.
Yes.
He doesn't know that, but I'm hoping he'll do that.
Yes, he's super busy.
He is.
It's really hard to hook up.
He's getting his master's degree,
Yeah.
and so all kinds of stuff. So
Teaching is important.
it is. It is.
More important than this.
Right. It's way more important than this. So Paul, what do we got for con news?
Con news, well, there's only one convention coming up.
Oh?
Yes.
Okay, do tell.
That is Orcacon. The 4th.
Ooh.
It is the 4th, right?
No. It's not.
It's the 3rd? No.
No, it's
No, the 4th Orcacon.
Oh, the 4th Orcacon.
Fourth
Okay,
Orcacon.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I mean, you confused me. I think it's the 4th day in January. No, yes.
It's January.
I think it is the
11th,
4th.
12th, and 13th.
Yes.
In Bellevue at the Hilton.
Yes.
It's going to be fantastic. Get your passes now, because we're cutting off near the end of the month here, December. They're gonna 86 the room rates, so get your rooms booked. That's super important if you want to get the special discount for Orcacon.
Yes.
There's some really cool stuff going on. Tons of food trucks, way more than last
Oh
year.
yeah, and there's more coming from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
They're trying to get rid of.
We're gonna have breakfast food trucks, lunch food trucks, dinner food trucks. It's gonna be fantastic. But once again, we're gonna have Play to Win, hosted by Double Exposure Envoy.
Yep.
It's gonna be fantastic. And one of the cool things I found out at our most recent meeting is they redid how they run the bar and restaurant at the Bellevue Hilton. They've redone the menu so it's bigger and more diverse. They've got gluten-free and veg options clearly marked.
Cool.
So that's great.
And Boards Alive will be there, by the way. I approved their passes.
All right,
Yeah.
hooray, Boards Alive!
Yay!
They are totally fun. I enjoy hanging out with them. We've got lots of great industry guests, like guests of honor include Catherine Cross. She is a contributing columnist to Game of Sutra. We've got Jeremy Crawford. He is, of course, the lead rules developer of Dungeons and Dragons at Wizards of the Coast. And Liz Courts, an avid gamer, almost 30 years. Liz has worked on over 70 different RPG products, and also helped organize the first unofficial PaizoCon. Very cool. And many others.
Cool. Cool.
Very excited for Orcacon. I can't wait.
Unfortunately, though, when we go, we usually just work.
We usually just work, yes.
Right. We don't get to really enjoy too much. But we're going to try to carve out some time.
We're going to have to play some games.
Yes.
I want to play Skull again.
That'd be kind of fun.
I love Skull.
What's that game where we were, I mean, we weren't in the same game, but we each played it. Like, you played a role, like one was the king and the other was the jester or something. Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember that game.
Oh, man, I can't.
The Assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't I
I
remember
never
that?
remember that.
We suck.
That's not dates.
We're doing a podcast about tabletop games. I can't
Right.
even remember that.
We play so many
Jeez.
games.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, let's go in. You want to go in the interview?
Well, first,
Okay,
because we're not going to have an outro for this.
Oh, well, we will, kind of. We'll just work it in.
Yes, but I want to make sure that we point out
Okay.
that one of my really close friends was on Dragon Talk.
Oh, who was that?
It was my friend Steve Hobbs, Blue
Oh,
Samurai.
that's me.
Yes, this guy over here. He was on Dragon Talk with Greg and Shelley. It was a very cool interview. Catch it on Twitch, or if you don't like the video stuff, go ahead and listen to the podcast, which is probably coming out shortly after this one.
Yes, that is true. In fact, we can put a link maybe to the Twitch, maybe right here.
Maybe. Something like that.
Maybe.
We'll try. The guy who does that will try very hard.
Yes. If anything, I'll try to put the link into our notes.
Yes.
So that you can click on it and see my beautiful face.
So beautiful.
You can see me, and you can hear me on Dragon Talk.
Yes. Which is, of course, the official podcast of Dungeons & Dragons.
It is. It is. They have. They were telling me 50,000 listeners.
That's amazing.
That's
almost as many as we have.
Maybe in an alternate universe. I think that's 50,000 more than we have.
Maybe.
All right. So with that, let's go check out
Matthew Gravelyn.
That's right, Matthew Gravelyn.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what Matthew has to say.
Later.
Hey folks, Blue Samurai here, and we are, we have our segment. I don't know if we're going to put it Beyond the DM's Guild. I don't know. We'll figure out what music we'll do. But it's kind of DM-like, but we're going to other aspects because we're interviewing a local game designer, developer. But anyway, I'm here with...
I'm Steve.
I'm still Paul, and we have the honor of sitting with Matthew Gravelyn. He's an RPG author. He's a podcaster of the Hard Move podcast. He also writes his own music. He's a virtual Renaissance man.
Matthew, we have interviewed a lot of people on this podcast, and what we love doing is interviewing people that have developed their own games because Paul and I are incapable of doing anything like that.
We talk about it a lot.
We talk about it a lot. We dream about it.
Yeah.
Steve, I think maybe you have. You've probably come with some homebrew stuff yourself for D&D, but yeah, we're actually talking to someone who's actually done it and wrote it down. So what have you done so far?
I've done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went back and looked at my DM's Guild career, which is when I started actually like publishing it, and it's been about 2 years. I've done adventures, I've done character options. Recently, I've been doing it's guides for people to create their own homebrew content.
That is so
Okay.
cool.
So I know I'm taking it meta, like more and more meta. I've also recently been working on my own role-playing game. I'm working on a solo wilderness survival role-playing game, which
Wow.
solo RPG was a thing I just
Yeah.
found out about a few months ago, and I'm like,
I had
that's
no idea that
super
existed.
weird.
Do you drink
and
your own pee?
hey man,
Excellent.
that's the great part about role-playing games.
Any
You can do whatever
game
you
where
feel
I
like.
can drink my own pee.
Yeah. So yeah, and previous to that, I've been trying to design board games, actually with another local group called Playtest Northwest.
We're very familiar with them.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
interviewed them.
yeah, amazing group of people, and I would always come up with these designs, and people would say, "Yes, you have created a functional, working set of rules," but nobody enjoys it. Like it's always just
Right.
good and not great. And so I took a step back and I said, "Well, what do I really want to do?" And I used to do a lot of writing, fictional, creative writing, back in college, and I said, "Well, I like games, I like writing, let me try writing games," and this one kind of stuck. So
I think when it comes to RPGs, you got to be a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
I think on the board game side, you have to be good at math. I think that's a problem. And since I'm bad at math and writing, it's probably why I can't do either of those things. So I'm glad you're doing it.
yeah, thank you.
So DM's Guild. So you got into it, and we reviewed some of your stuff here, and I think each of us did.
Uh-huh.
So I just want to go into. Is this the first campaign you did, Voyage of the Rosemary?
Yeah, I think that was actually the first thing. It wasn't the first thing I wrote, but it was the first thing I put on DM's Guild.
Okay.
It's a level 1 or first level adventure for D&D, and the prospect here was sometimes DMs have players who want to go off the rails, and especially if you're a first-time DM,
Right.
that can be rough. That can be really trying for that. So I wanted to write this adventure module actually with the DM more in mind than the players. So
Yeah.
you're on a ship. The ship is in the literal middle of the ocean, and it is on its way to a new place, which A, gives players a lot of great opportunity for why they left and why they're on this ship. Did they stow away? Did they pay? Were they exiled? What have you? So lots of opportunities. And there's really nowhere for the players to go other than be on the ship.
Right. I really like this. It's one of those kind of one-shot things that you can do,
Yeah.
or apparently you've got a whole series of these and you just go on.
I put part 1 on there, and
Part
I
one.
always intended to, but here's the
Part
great-
2's coming though, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, okay,
here's
okay.
the great thing about it. That
Right.
the port that
Mhm.
this boat is going to
Mhm.
can be anywhere. So, attach
Sure.
it to, heck, it could be going to Barovia for all I know. Like,
Right.
just attach it to whatever you want. So, second level characters just get
Mhm.
off the boat and go do whatever they want.
Well, I really do like it. In fact, you brought it up. Is it keeps it linear in a sense where it doesn't make the players think they're playing a linear type
Yeah.
campaign. So I really like that, and it is.
Exactly.
So I did my own campaign.
Steve
these guys
needs
did.
that.
So what I had to do is I had to put in like certain techniques to put people back on track,
Mhm.
which was hard to do. But
There's only one
you,
road.
And it
It
gets
goes east.
you just made it really easy because you said, "Hey, you're on a ship.
It's all water.
There's really nowhere
Yes.
else you can
It's
go."
water for miles.
And I really like the fact now you set this up really well, I think, and kind of you left a lot of room for the players to bring in whatever background
Mhm.
story that they have in here. Why did you purposely pick a ship because you wanted to keep it something easy for the DM and the players? Or was it part of a grander campaign that you were thinking? Because
Mhm.
I know you just had part 1.
Yeah.
Was it something bigger
Yeah,
maybe?
so this is based off of a game that I actually ran with players, and then I wrote it into this. So yeah, they went here, and then there was like another trading post city inside, and then I did a Halloween spooky manor version of the campaign after the fact, and then I had written that there's a dispute, like a land grab dispute between 2 kingdoms in the south, and there's also this kind of natural disturbance of these nature spirits. So I had a lot of stuff, but it was all centered around this Destiny Abroad series was this new land, new opportunity, and it was more or less untouched. There wasn't entire tribes of people here and huge civilizations.
Were you thinking Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, or you didn't really care which one?
It was definitely Forgotten Realms in concept. It was still supposed to be that kind of, it was still supposed to be fantasy. I was kind of taking it more of a low fantasy. This was supposed to be less of this like weird mystical Feywild type of area and more of just like, hey, we don't really know what's here. So it's a lot more exploration and stuff.
Well, I know Steve here ran us through a campaign, and we were briefly on a boat. I think a flying ship with kobolds on it, right? Part of the Storm King's Thunder, yeah. I mean, did you? I mean, you felt that we weren't going to really move away from that, right? It's pretty hard to do.
I really try hard to let you guys do whatever you want, and if you give players rope to hang themselves with, they will, and it's often hilarious.
Yes.
But it's always when you're a DM, you're fighting that I want you to do this or do this type of thing, and and players always have their own mind.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that in here there's a decision point, and I don't know, spoiling it or not spoiling it, but because it deals with kind of a mutiny or whatever, is choosing which side you're on, and that you kind of lay out what's going to happen depending on what choice you make.
Cool.
And so I kind of like that.
When I was reading through it, really, the thing that really struck me about this was, when I was like, what I want to do, the thing I liked was that a lot of times you'll have especially in a one-shot type of thing, you're really there alone for the ride. It's like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And you kind of did set it out where this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Then you had the nice set of, if the players choose to do this, this is what happens. If they choose to do this, this is what. So there's still that player agency involved. I mean, the same basic set of events is going to happen, but how it plays out really is up to the players. And I like seeing that in things because my players will go all over the place.
And again,
and they should to a certain extent. That's what the game's all about. It's not just like, get back over here, you're supposed to do this. It's like, well, this is all going to go on, and whether it's great or horrible or you're good guys or bad guys, it's really up to you.
Yeah.
You can let them do that.
And I put some notes in there about how this can be a more wide sweeping thing also. Yeah, you get this big decision point here, but if you go one way, then next adventure when you need to use a boat, that like you're gonna have to make decisions based on your past consequences. So yeah, it was supposed to also kind of contextualize what it felt like when you got to the new port and how you were received by the people there.
Okay.
And before we go on to the other thing that Paul has done all the research on, I just for the people out there, remember this is The Voyage of the Rosemarie. You can get this on the DM's Guild, and I highly recommend it. If you're a first-time DM, this is a great campaign that you can start yourself on to figure out, you know, how do I do this DM stuff? You know, it can be kind of scary, and I think it's good to do kind of an adventure like this rather than kind of diving into it like a Storm King's Thunder or any of those other campaigns that might be intimidating. So this is a good start. And Paul, you've got something that you did. In fact, Matthew, why don't you talk about a little bit about this next thing and when it came up?
I switched to making a lot more character options just because I felt like that was the most fun part of this was creating a character and making it your own and making it unique.
Love making characters.
Who doesn't? I mean, even if you don't play them.
Yeah.
So Undead Races came from this. I heard people talking about losing their character because they died, and sometimes that happens. So Undead Races is 4 races that replace or augment your existing character's race after they would normally die in the game.
Okay.
So this is just a way for you to bring that character back, but in a different context. So in here I have Vampire, which is relatively straightforward. I have Ghost, which again, you are a ghost. You are intangible. You lose your all agency of physical control over the world. I have Bound Spirit, which is 100% based on Full Metal Alchemist. It's just a soul in a suit of armor. It could be, you know, any construct basically. And then the oh my God, I'm blanking on the fourth one. And then the Soulless, which is basically your body is animated.
Okay.
But you know, if you're a paladin or a cleric, you would believe they have lost their soul.
Okay.
It isn't an inherently religious thing. You could have just lost your spirit or your life force or whatever, however you want to play it in the game. But you're more of a husk. You don't have the same emotions or empathy or humanoid connection anymore. You become this different type of character.
And there's different stat adjustments for each kind of character, which is really cool.
Yep.
In Storm King's Thunder, towards the end, I was kind of trying to die. So
I thought you were just being a crappy player.
I thought Nick was trying to die.
Was I
He
trying
was
to die?
the most successful at trying to die.
It's like, what's going to happen if I die? Oh, we'll see. Well, I didn't quite make it. But, so this is really cool. Like, I would love to sometime die in a campaign and then bring that person back.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, that might happen.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where you can extend the life of your character by being undead.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yep.
For example, I mean, the 5th edition has the Deathlock in there, or the Revenant, that you could potentially maybe go into those things, but they don't really tell you how to do that in the rules. But this thing kind of lays it out in a way where you can do that. So are you thinking about this like, okay, after the character's dead, or hey, I'm going to roll up an undead character? Or you can do either or.
Yeah, either or. You could totally start there. The intention when I wrote it was to have that turning point. And that turning point could just be whenever you happen to die in campaign. And maybe that's just you're playing your character very aggressively. Or you could plan it that way because you want to switch to playing a vampire character. Or you want to see what it's like to play a ghost in a game that maybe only 1 or 2 of the other player characters can see and literally nobody else can see. Or only paladins and clerics can see them and no one else can, or whatever. You know, you could plan it. You could just say, oh, my character died, and now he's this. And you could really do it any way you want. Yeah, there's no hard and fast rules in here that say you have to do X, Y, and Z to become an undead race. They're here for you to do what you want with.
And that's, so this campaign that we just talked about and that undead races, those are kind of the first things you put into DM's Guild?
So this, the campaign was the first one. The second one was my bear class.
Okay, that's right. I think that's the other one we got right.
Which 100% credit of the idea goes to my good friend Bobby, who came to me and said, I want to do something wild, I'd like to play a bear. And
Okay.
after some hesitance, I said, all right, but you're playing a real bear, not a magic bear, not a werebear.
No one that rides a motorcycle.
You are playing
Because we're inclusive. so
literal,
yes, okay.
actual bear.
Okay.
And so I created this really hacked up homebrew class that was basically just a mix of the fighter and the barbarian classes and like a splash of a couple druid or ranger type things in there.
Okay.
And we played it and it worked. I mean, he never even got past like level 4 or anything, so it didn't matter. But
Mhm.
after I got done and I started working on some of these things, I said, you know what, I should write that up. And writing that up turned into me writing 2 races with 2 sub-races each, 2 classes, and 3 backgrounds.
Cool.
And that is now a 14-page book
Wow.
that is
So
available
was
on
your
DM's
friend
Guild.
the escaped circus bear, or?
So yeah,
did that-
I mean, he wanted to be. Oh yeah, that's after we did the Rosemary. There was a circus, and there was a bear, and his character died. And I said, "Oh, Bobby's the bear now." And everyone was just like, "I don't know what that to do with those words. That those aren't words that mean anything to us." And I said, "He's playing
They
the bear
will
now."
soon.
So I want to go a little bit into, and I think be interest to some of the listeners in there, is the DM's Guild itself. So
Yeah.
You've done other things as well, and you've
Mm-hmm.
learned probably from what you've done so far. So can you tell us a little bit about the DM's Guild, and how does one access it,
Uh-huh.
and what's the process?
Yeah, for sure. So if you're familiar with drive-through RPG, it's basic.
No.
So drive-through RPG is basically just the standard RPG. I want to sell digital or even print-on-demand copies.
Okay.
My understanding is that Wizards made a deal to create their own version of it called DM's Guild. It is strictly for D&D.
Okay.
It focuses primarily on 5th edition, although they do have older versions in there.
Okay.
And there's like 3 tiers as far as I'm aware. There's content in there that is from Wizards.
Okay.
They sell digital content through this store.
Ah, like the Turtle package. I see.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly like that. There is, I can't remember the name of it, but they have this like approved content creators that they kind of like anoint them and say, you
Right.
are,
There's-
our top tier content creators.
Right, and they get that from the DM's Guild. They kind of look at your stuff, probably looked at your stuff, and then they went, I have
Maybe.
all these hundreds of people, we're going to elevate these 3 or 4
Yeah.
for now, and then we're going to move on
Yeah,
to the next
and,
one, right?
and they have there's a name for that program, and there's information about how to work towards being that, but as far as I'm aware, it's not like an application process.
Okay.
They find you.
Yeah, well, I think there's something like you have to sell X amount
Yeah,
of
they're-
paid,
Mhm.
downloads and whatnot.
So help Matthew out, buy his stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but here's the great thing. Anybody can sign up for DM's Guild
Okay.
and sign up for a quote publisher account and just put stuff up there. So you can just open up Word, type a bunch of stuff, and put it up there. And that's fine.
That easy? I
If-
mean, are
you
you sure
literally
there's
could-
nothing else you got to follow, or guidelines?
The
or-
guidelines, so there's a D&D 5th edition SRD, which tells you what content from D&D you're allowed to put in your game. And this includes basically all the base classes, the base races, almost all the spells, a lot of the monsters are in there. So you can put a beholder in your content and sell it and make money because it's part of the agreement with DM's Guild.
Okay.
Okay. What can't you do, I guess? What's
So
can you
there
give us a for example?
there is some content that's off limits.
Okay.
So Forgotten Realms is good.
So you can do anything about Forgotten Realms.
And I believe they're because they just released Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Right.
That will be coming to
Okay.
DM's Guild.
Got it?
But
Okay.
right now we're not supposed to write about it. We're not supposed to write about Greyhawk or whatever.
Got it. Okay.
So there is that. Anything that's not in the SRD, we're not supposed to. So if there's a monster that's not in the SRD, or classes that came out of Xanathars,
When you say
Technic-
SRD, what does that mean to the listener?
it's basically a legal document, but it just looks like a black and white copy of like a player's handbook. It has
Okay.
almost all
I
the
think
same
it's
words.
like the system reference document.
Yeah,
or something,
it's
which
a-
is your basic.
Mhm.
Here's the legally open portions
Yes.
of D&D.
Yep.
Okay, so
And-
you can't do. You said something about Xanathar's Guide, so you couldn't do anything. in
Xanathars is
Xanathar's
not technically part of the SRD.
Guide? Oh,
So if I
okay.
were to write up my content and copy content from Xanathars to put in there, that's not good. But I could basically copy whole hog the Barbarian class because it's in the SRD and put it in my book. Now, there probably is a manual review process where they're just saying, you're just selling a reskinned barbarian class that's not kosher. But if I wanted to call out, so we can talk about my other homebrew guides in a minute, but I've pulled little pieces of like the paladin class into my paladin guide. I didn't copy verbatim the entire paladin class into my guide, but I'm allowed to reference it because it's part of the SRD.
Okay.
So that's the deal. Your side of the deal is that if you sell anything on DM's Guild, 50% of that goes to Wizards.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So when you want to talk about publishing rights, it's not a great deal,
Sure,
but
sure.
they provide this infrastructure, they create this website, they do the processing of the payments, and for every dollar I sell, I get 50 cents.
Well, I mean, it's a chance for someone to get in on something, right?
Yep.
I mean, to say I publish something
And
maybe make some money. I mean,
yep.
you're not going to get rich off it, but
No.
you know.
No,
but
not
maybe,
me, not me.
Maybe you'll get some beer money.
But yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm making beer money for sure. But there are people that put out really good books with great art, great layout. You know, they have a team of 6 people working on it. There's only been one real project in the DM's Guild that was a collaboration. It's called Hags Hexes, and that was a series of, I want to say 4 writers, and I edited, and then there was the guy who kind of like put it all together, and then there was an artist / map maker, I believe. So it was like 6 or 7 people went into making Hags Hexes, and that was a much larger book that had like 3 campaigns and all of these new hags and spells and covens. And it was just a whole new kind of holistic guide for putting hags into your game and really bolstering them.
So just a step by step. So let's say, I'll give you for example. So me, I wrote something.
Yes.
Campaign's about 40, 50 pages. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So for somebody out there who's just going in, I just wrote their homebrew. What's the first step to do after you just wrote all this?
Yeah.
Which is the hardest part.
Here's the first step.
Have your buddies edit it, right?
You have so many people edit it. You have so many people look at it. You ask a lot of people to look at it because like maybe 10% of them are actually going to look at it. That's my experience when I ask people
answer emails.
to play test and edit, proofread documents. Is everybody has best of intentions, but not everybody has as much free time. So for every 10 people I ask to proofread a document, maybe like 1 or 2 actually come through. So I ask a ton of people, and this actually goes hand in hand with a concept that board games and role-playing game designers struggle with a lot, and people coming in new are very close to the chest. They don't want to share their content. You can't.
Right.
You're going to put out a bad thing if nobody ever looks at it. So, I'm telling you that right now. Be okay with sharing it.
So after you edit it, what's the...
So next step would be, you know what, you need to format it. There are templates on DM's Guild that you can get. There's a great free web app called the Home Brewery, and it basically allows you to type in one panel, and then on the other side it shows you, it formats it like it would look as if it was in the player's handbook.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
So
you could just listen to the podcast then.
Yeah,
that's true. Yes.
So mine, I have a Word document that has all the headers and formatting and columns and saved. And honestly, you can try it. I tried to make it look as much like a player's handbook as I could. As long as it's readable and well formatted, you're good. And you're probably going to have to put some art in it. So either you need to draw art, you need to find a friend to draw some art. My art, I get art on...
It's really nice, yeah.
I get art on DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG, and there are options for content creator, stock art. And then I search for whatever I'm looking for. And I find the art and I put it in there. That is an investment, and individual pieces of art could be anywhere from $2 to $10, depending on who made it, how good it is, how big it is. I normally pay about $10 for a cover image if I get some stock art for that. Those little ones, all $2 to $3 range. 4 to 5 pieces per page. I'm paying $20 for stock art on a book. You have to do that.
Otherwise, you're not going to get.
Because you need to stand out.
Yeah.
Well, let me take us back. Do you need to do that? No. Do you want sales? You should put some stuff in there.
Yeah.
The other thing that you then decide is if you want to sell it for a fixed price, or if you want to put it up for free, or if you want to put it up for pay what you want. So pay what you want is an interesting concept where anybody can download it for free, but they can also put in a dollar amount to give you. And my most recent books and my most lucrative books are pay what you want.
Okay.
that being said, I have some other pay what you want books that maybe like 1% of the time make 25 cents.
Okay.
So you run that risk. Some of my books, I believe Undead Races, Bears, and Voyage of the Rosemary are fixed pay, and I think they're like $1 to $3. And then my new guides are pay what you want. And again, whatever they end up putting in, you take 50% of.
So what do you recommend to the people out there? Pay what you want, or do a fixed price?
Honestly, if you're going to put all that work into it, then you do a fixed price.
Okay.
If you want to just take your 40 pages, put a cool font on it, put a cover image on it, shoot it up there, pay what you want. I mean, it's about how much effort you're going to put into it. You know, my biggest thing is that this isn't a job, but it's still work. You need to value your own work and your own time.
Yeah.
So if you want to get something out of it,
Right.
make sure you set up that structure. If you're putting it up just to share, you could just set it free. You can't pay me for this.
Well, I've
just
seen.
have it.
When I play D&D and Steve's the DM. He's really good at drawing some of the maps. So maybe if I pay about $20, maybe you can do that on my.
Yeah.
Buy me some beer, I'll draw you
Maps
some
is
maps.
another
Right.
one. I don't include any maps in mine, and that was actually some of the reviews I got on the Voyage of the Rosemary, is I didn't put any maps in there, even for the boat. People wanted this
Oh, yeah,
really
it's true.
grid-based map for the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
I, as a DM, don't like maps.
No? Okay.
I like theater of the mind. I don't care what your movement speed is. I don't care if they're 4 feet or 5 feet away
Okay.
from you. That's not it. That's not the interesting part of role-playing games to me. So I often overlook that, but keep in mind, you know, your average D&D consumer likes rules, likes maps, likes minis. So again, yeah, if you aren't comfortable making maps and you know somebody who is, great. You can lump them in. And there's really the back-end system, again, for DM's Guild, you're paying 50%. You're
Right.
getting this system as part of that 50%. There's ways you could both set up an account, and you can take 75%, you give him 25%. So if you don't have $20 to give him up front, you could offer him a royalty.
All right.
So that's how I get paid on Hag's Hexes.
My people call you
yeah.
Steve.
Yes.
We'll strike a deal.
I'll be the middleman. I'll
That's
get like.
right.
I was going to say I'll
Yeah.
facilitate the deal and just take 8%. But that's how we did Hag's Hexes, is there's a lot of people working on it. And it would have been a nightmare to try and do all that paperwork through PayPal or whatever after the fact. So they just set up a scale. We
cool.
all have a
Yeah.
DM's Guild account. We all get our cut in real time. And then the one kind of downside to the whole payment system, DM's Guild holds your money for 60 days. So if you make
Right.
money on a day, you cannot get that money until 60 days.
So how's it? Yeah. Is it a PayPal thing or how?
And then it PayPal's you, yep. And it's like
Ah,
a
got
25-cent
it. Okay.
charge or
Okay.
something to get your money in PayPal, but it's like instant. Like once you press
Yeah.
the button, 5 minutes later you have your money through PayPal.
Cool.
But you
All
just, again, be comfortable with that 60-day wait period because it sucks. But other than that, yeah, this is just a really cool way for people who, you know, want to dabble in this world, you know, little up from homebrew at their own table, and they want to start sharing stuff.
Right.
There are other communities. Reddit has a great, you know, homebrew community that you can go check out. Like if you just want to share stuff and learn stuff, great, go do that. If you want to take it up a little bit, start producing the content and start trying to sell it. DM's Guild, there's no you can do it for free. Like you can just start doing it, you know. And
Cool.
Wizards only takes money when you make money. So
All right. I'm uploading tonight.
do it.
I don't need to have this edited.
Yeah. So, I listened to enough of, I don't know anything about Powered by the Apocalypse, but I listened to enough of your podcast to be fascinated.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes.
The Hard Move podcast, you talk about the RPGs that run Powered by the Apocalypse RPG system.
Yes. So I got turned on to Powered by the Apocalypse games a couple years ago. A former coworker of mine, she told me about this podcast called Friends at the Table, and at the time they were playing Dungeon World, which is the D&D analog in the Powered by the Apocalypse world. And
Okay.
before, don't at me, there are other fantasy ones, but
Yeah.
that was my intro to
Okay.
PBTA games. So there was a game, you know, years ago called Apocalypse World. And it brought out this 2d6 system, and it brought out these tiers of success and failure with complications, you know.
Okay.
And basically what it means to be a Powered by the Apocalypse system is to utilize some of those core mechanics out of Apocalypse World.
Okay.
And the creator of Apocalypse World said, you can't have my system, or you can't have my book, my setting, but these rules are fine. You can use them.
Okay.
And if you want to call your game Powered by the Apocalypse, here's a logo, and we'll kind of curate this list of games that self-identify it.
Okay.
So the big thing is 2d6, and there's a sliding scale. So you roll 2d6 plus a stat. 6 or lower is a failure. 7 to 9 is a mixed success with complication. A 10 plus is a success. 12 plus is an epic success with, depends on the game you're playing.
Okay.
So that's a big one. And then the fiction comes first, not the roll. So in D&D, you might do a roll, see what it does, and then tell a story. In PBTA games, you are encouraged to say, you don't say, I'm attacking him with my sword. You say, I raise my sword on high and bring it down in a slashing motion in an attempt to cleave his sword arm off.
Okay.
And then the DM goes, sounds like you're trying to kick some ass, and then you roll the kick some ass move.
Okay.
So
that's a move. Kick some ass.
Kick some ass is a move in a game called Monster of the Week,
Okay.
PBTA, one of my favorites. And they all have different moves, but yeah, some is kick some ass, some they just call attack. A lot of the moves are thematic. So Powered by the Apocalypse is this really big world of games that can be super light or super big, and they utilize that system. And then there's even some offshoots of that. So PBTA inspired a game called Blades in the Dark, and now there's a Forged in the Dark system.
Okay.
That's tangentially related.
Okay.
So the hard move is really just me exploring all of those things. And the difference for me is D&D has a lot of stuff, but it's all D&D.
Yeah.
When I go to a new PBTA game, it's a new game, it's a new setting. I
Okay.
can play Monster Hunters, I can play, urban high fantasy, I can play, magical girls fighting space monsters.
Okay.
Like, there's literally no end to PBTA games.
Cool.
And I'm just in love with the rules like nature. It's all theater of the mind mostly. It's all fiction first. It's cooperative storytelling.
Awesome.
You're not worried about the crunch of the rules,
Okay.
which, no disrespect,
Yeah.
it's just not
Yeah.
like what drives me
Yeah.
right now. But to that point, that crunch of D&D makes it easier to write for.
Yes.
So I write for D&D, I play PBTA.
Cool. Very cool.
And how do we access? Where's your podcast available?
So it's hosted on a relatively new service called Anchor FM.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to, I just bought a redirect URL, so you can go to thehardmove.com and it'll redirect you. It is available on iTunes, on Google, on Spotify, on Stitcher. So Overcast, if you have that app, that's my preferred app. Search for The Hard Move.
Okay.
You can find it. Otherwise, you can go to anchor.fm/thehardmove and listen to it right in the browser.
And you get the Facebooks or Twitters or anything?
I have Twitter at The Hard Move.
Okay.
And then I started up a Patreon. Do not feel inclined to check that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not at the point where I feel confident asking people to give me money for this project yet. I really just wanted to get feedback on.
Yeah, asking people for money can be really hard.
It is. So it's up. There is a Patreon exists technically because I'm just looking for feedback on the Patreon.
Okay.
But honestly, yeah, just check it out. Every week on Wednesdays, I have a new guest on. They pick a move from any PBTA system they want to talk about.
Cool.
Okay.
At the time of this recording, last Wednesday was a move from a game called Scum and Villainy, which is basically a space opera heist type of game.
Yes.
And we covered a move called Attune, which is basically using your mental, attenuation to tap into the forces,
Okay.
not the singular,
Yeah.
the forces of the universe to
Yes.
do cool things with your mind. And we just spent 45 minutes talking about that one move, and I love unpacking.
I like
those
how you're
things.
on the very edge of like getting into trademark territory. That's very nice.
I didn't write the game, so I'm not.
Yeah.
no
that's
lawyers,
good. I like that.
no lawyers coming after me.
That's
So.
right. That's
But yeah, so Hard Move's been going about 8 weeks now. I
Cool.
actually just recorded 4 episodes in the last 8 days.
Wow.
Nice.
I have a lot of editing to do, but
You
I'm
should
trying
do
to
that.
get all that out of the way so I can take the rest of the season off to kind of hang out with my family.
So Matthew, what else are you doing? What's the future hold for you? What things do you got going on?
Yeah, so on DM's Guild, I'm
Mhm.
working on a series of guides
Okay.
for basically you buy my guide, or you download, pay what you want, you download my guide, and it is a guide to help you create your own subclass.
Okay.
I have a paladin, a barbarian, and a warlock guide out right now, and I'm working on monk. Monk is very difficult to write a standardized guide.
Mhm.
They're really all over the place. my hope is that in the next few months I get all 12 classes done, and that's been really interesting to kind of really analyze, not create net new. So that's what's in store on DM's Guild. I am working with the Deck of Many on a project called Humblewood, which is a new IP that we're working for, which is a 5e compatible module. It is currently available for public playtest at humblewood.net, so you can get the kind of slimmed down PDF version. Humblewood focuses on a magical forest full of anthropomorphic bird people.
Cool.
And I'm working on a solo RPG about wilderness survival. I didn't know solo RPGs were a thing until a couple months ago, and now I'm extremely interested in them.
Just watch Naked and Afraid.
It's exactly Naked and Afraid. 100%
Okay.
it's Naked and Afraid.
Is that what you got inspired by? Oh,
my wife and I
love it.
most of Naked and Afraid and Dual Survival is on Hulu, and
I love watching that
we
stuff.
binged
I love watching
the heck
that
out of
stuff.
it. So that's something that I'm hoping to get onto Kickstarter in the coming months.
Have you noticed it's the bugs that get you? It's
It
always
is.
the bugs.
It's always the bugs. Yeah.
But that never plays in D&D though. Maybe
Don't
we should
give
add that.
anybody
Oh, that's
any
right. Never mind.
ideas.
Bugs
Swarms,
are bugs.
man.
No,
Swarms.
Right.
no spider golems.
So what about the part 2 of Destiny Abroad? What's going on with Captain Percival? I want to know what's going on with Captain Percival.
Yeah. So I did write this adventure, and then I started writing the character options, and the character options became a lot more interesting for me. Again, writing, if you pick up adventure modules and those books that Wizards puts out, there's a lot of pages in that book that you never utilize. And that kind of became a little tiresome as a writer, to put that mental energy into creating a product that I knew each individual person was maybe going to glean like 25% of.
Yeah.
Whereas when I make the character options, you either use it or you don't use it, but I kind of created this more small, encapsulated piece of content. Writing adventures is hard. Like you said, you have 40 to 50 pages.
It was horrible.
It's
It was
not.
hard.
It's not a small
Yeah.
thing
It was
to do.
horrible.
Player's
I
the
agree.
worst.
It was
by the way,
terrible.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know. It's there. It's an option. I reserve the right to go back and do it someday. But yeah, right now the big thing is the character, the subclass guides. I'm having a lot of fun deconstructing D&D subclasses.
Well, it kind of goes down the whole thing about D&D, and is like, I love making the characters.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
I mean, making characters are fun. I could just write characters all
I
day.
just like killing them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a player versus DM mentality there.
So Matthew, we're gonna find you maybe at a future convention, perhaps. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
Maybe at Orcacon, perhaps.
Orcacon's a definite maybe.
Ooh,
Definite
okay.
maybe.
I'm a board member.
I'm
a board
planning.
member too.
I knew about that. I went to the inaugural Orcacon. I was unable to go to subsequent ones just for timing.
Understood.
I'd like to go to the upcoming one.
Mhm.
I'm potentially going to be at PAX East
Oh wow.
with the Deck of Many folks to do Humblewood stuff.
Okay.
There's a lot up in the air right now. And I almost always go to Gen Con. I actually have friends that do.
I've been to Gen Con too.
I have some friends that work at Floodgate Games, and I've been working their booth for the past couple of years. So
Okay.
I don't go for myself. I don't go for
Sure.
publicizing role-playing game content. I go to hang out with my Floodgate
Well,
Games.
I'm gonna try to go there again. So I was a little busy this year trying to hold on to my own job. So
Yeah.
hopefully, maybe I can see you. Maybe we'll go out for a couple beers and
Yeah,
talk about. Actually, let's brainstorm for the next adventure for part 2 of the Destiny Abroad. I got some ideas I'd like to throw your way.
Gravelyn/Hobbs.
you know what? I'll give you 75% to write it.
All
I'll
right,
take
that's
25%
awesome.
for the IP.
I
Call
love
it a
it.
day.
I love it. I love it. So is there anything else? You guys got any questions or anything like that?
I think this has been great. Yeah, I think we're good.
It has been great. I think this is going to be wonderful because there's going to be a lot of people out there like, how do I get my stuff published?
Yeah.
And you actually did it and you were brave enough to do it. So that's
Yeah, bravery actually is a big one. You just gotta do it, and someone's gonna write you a bad review, and it still bothers me. I've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
It still bothers me, but it has to bother you, or you're not trying to make
You
good
know, I
content.
picture my own
Yes.
friends just writing horrible reviews
Definitely.
over and over again.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
1 star.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Is there negative stars in here?
No.
Black holes.
You can't go 0.
3 black holes.
I mean, anybody who's interested can find me on Twitter at MrMatthew, Mr. Matthew. I'm happy to answer questions. I mean, I'm not,
Mhm.
again, it's not my job. I'm not super popular on DM's Guild. I don't know everything about it, but I'm happy to chat about it. So
All right, I'm going to send you my stuff. You can edit it.
I love it.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's all we got.
Yeah, thanks for
a
joining
lot,
us,
Matthew, for
everyone.
coming here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for
yeah.
having me.
All right. Catch you later.
Oh, hey, that was that was great talking to Matthew.
That was wonderful.
It was fascinating.
I love
I might write something someday. I keep threatening to do
I
it.
am so jealous he actually did it. He put
Well,
something
you-
together.
You already wrote something. Just
I
put it
did.
out.
You're right. I just got to have
Just
you guys
put it out.
review it.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
afraid of. That's my biggest fear is you guys taking a big old dump on it. Because I think you guys will take a dump on it just because you would find it hilarious.
Well, that's what editors do. That's their
Yeah, but
job.
I think you do it because it makes you feel good to do that.
Well, you were really kind of mean about the number of daggers my character could have.
Well, you just can't add weapons to a new character. That it's not.
But
You
D&D
can't
Beyond
do
lets
that.
you do it.
No.
Anyway, speaking
Yes.
of D&D Beyond,
Yes. Let's,
definitely check out that thing you were on that you did with Joe.
yes. Take up Dragon Talk. The episode should
Greg.
be coming up.
Good.
Yes, Greg Tito and Shelley Masnova.
Yes.
We are on there. Go to the Orcacon.org website and make sure you get those badges, get those
Definitely.
passes.
Get your room
Yes.
at the discounted rate.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
Don't miss it. Don't miss out. What's the big things going on? Else that's going on?
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Just Orcacon.
It's December. Yeah.
Yes.
Not much is going on except.
Well, there's
for-
Christmas.
There's that.
But there's Orcacon,
and other
which is-
holidays. But Orcacon is the most important.
Exactly.
So I think that's it, right?
I think so.
All right. So with that, embrace the nerd, and I hope you make that saving throw.